I've been at this about half an hour, and I've removed all the large buttons, and there's some lovely good ones in the large button category, and we're now down to what looks very unpromising, but actually this is where you need to keep your concentration going. I'll also introduce this amazing device. It's called a magnet. You've probably heard of them before, and I've discovered that there's lots of metal stuff here. So very quickly, if I just go around like this, especially if there's pins and other things, I can come up with that. Saves an awful lot of picking over. I can see if that's a button, if that's okay, and the rest of it. Okay, there's some old workman's buttons there, or work person's buttons. And what's that one like? That's not too bad. That's grotty. So the rest of it goes into the metal pile there. I'll do that just once again. Obviously it doesn't pick up non-ferrous or certain types of amalgams of metal. But if you come across a stash that's got an awful lot of needles and pins and all types of stuff like that in it, it can be really convenient to take as many of those out as you can without getting your fingers half destroyed. So now these are interesting. These are metal buttons, but they've gone, I'll keep them because I'll check them out later. And that has arrived because it has a tin back, although it is actually a celluloid. Get rid of this. There's a dreaded pin. So I'll do this once more just for theatrical effect. Ooh, yeah, that's great. A couple of those. Take that. Washers. You often get it. I've got enough washers I could probably start a plumbing business or something similar. So I won't labour that point. I'll leave that to one side. And just continue here and talk briefly through a few of the other things I'm finding. These are little linen buttons, and there are dozens and dozens of them, if not probably 100 or more. I don't, as a rule, I put them to one side. I'll talk about that later. This is a fabric covered button, and I chuck those. The reason being is that although they can be very attractive to look at, it's impossible to sort of sanitize and clean them. They're always grubby like that as well, so there's not really much point cleaning them and keeping them. So let's see what else we have here. So taking away the medium buttons at this stage and seeing if there's anything else left under it. Well, there's a little bit of mother of pearl. Looks very dull and pretty grim at the moment because it's picked up dirt along the way. There's another one. That's a nice one with a little bit of a rim. Interesting. It's got a sort of a burst back. So yeah, we're into the small stuff here, but you never know. You never know. Someday I'll find a half sovereign. Another sad-looking mother of pearl. But once we de-thread that and brush it up a little bit, it should come back nicely. I haven't forgotten that yesterday's sort. I have that put away, and I'm going to do a little piece on that. But I just wanted to get into this while it's fresh. Just couldn't wait, actually. So let's plow on here. Obviously we're not going to find at this level, because the buttons are small, we're not going to find any spectacular celluloids because they're usually larger. Not always, but they're usually larger. And we're going to find a lot of these brown, dull buttons. We can play next week Button Detective. I'd love to do that with you and explain sort of the thinking behind the rationale behind when you find a button set, how you can make your mind up sort of pretty quickly once you get a bit of experience on whether it's worth going through or how much you want to keep, etc., etc. And often the buttons, although they're obviously dumb, they will speak to you in a different way. So again, I'm going to stop for a moment or two. I'll just see if I can find anything interesting before I stop. Notice the complete lack of red, and there's a little sort of, I'm not sure, little trade button there. The same as yesterday, wasn't it? I don't know if you noticed, but there was no red. And in fact, there was a huge preponderance of green for some reason. Now, you often get that somebody has a particular colour scheme that they've always dressed to, or they're very formal or whatever. And, you know, they don't expand out, especially years ago. And the colour schemes weren't there. A lot of the dyes weren't fast, so Again, you know, by the way, if you're ever washing red buttons, keep them all to one side. We'll go into that at some other day. Oh, another bit. So we'll end on this nice note, another nice mother of pearl, and I'll come back to you in a minute.